Youth ministry theme nights are some of the best ways to get your students inviting their friends to your group, as well as build momentum for the overall team. But here's something that someone might not tell you about some of these theme nights, is that in every single one, there is an opportunity for a huge mistake. Sometimes it was funny, sometimes it was painful, and one time I even thought I might be getting fired. And so before you try these for yourself, in this episode, I'm going to share with you my 5 favorite theme nights from my last 15 years in youth ministry, and the one mistake I learned from each of those so that you don't have to learn it the hard way for yourself. Welcome, my friends, to the Hybrid Ministry Show. Well, hey, my friends, welcome back to the Hybrid Ministry Show. I am your host, Nick Clason, and I have been in this recent playlist asking and answering different questions found in different youth ministry Facebook groups. And this one says, hey, what are some theme nights you've done with your group that your kids have really enjoyed? Like Jersey Night, Crazy Hair. Looking forward to some ideas. So I figured, hey, I want to share some of my best theme nights. And I've discussed this before in some recent episodes. In fact, we did kind of like a fall playlist masterclass thing where it talked about my strategy for youth ministry. And oftentimes I'll make a theme night a cultivate night, which is a bring your friends and invite style night. And so one of the very first invite style nights that I did as a youth pastor was one that I grew up as a teenager doing. My youth pastor, shout out to Pastor Tim Blow, he did an event called Duct Tape Night. And then I went several years later to intern for him, and he also did it. And so then when it was my turn to be a youth pastor, it was time to do duct tape night. And so we do all kinds of different duct tape. We buy a bunch. We encourage students to, bring something made out of duct tape that they made. We'll play, games with duct tape. I even have a game I downloaded youth ministry called Duct Tape Trivia. It's one of my very, very first, very, very early on games. And then we'll even play like Steal the Bacon, but in the middle we'll play like Steal the Duct Tape instead. But one, probably like the star of the show, like the thing that kids and students and even leaders look the most forward to, is the Duct Tape a Student to the Wall challenge. And I said, within my first couple months, even weeks of taking this new job, and got a couple kids and decided to duct tape them to the wall. And it was all well and good. No one got hurt. I mean, if you get enough duct tape, they literally can stick to the wall and they're not going to fall down. That wasn't the problem. What was the problem was, as soon as they started to fall off the wall, or we started to take them down off the wall, it took the paint with them. Mind you, I'm in week like 3.5 of this job. And so, it's Wednesday night, the entire church is there, kids ministry, youth ministry, adult ministry. And so at the end of the night, all the adults are like, how'd duct tape night go? Because they knew about it, heard about it, but had never seen an event like this before. And we're like, oh, it's good. And I was talking to my senior pastor, my boss, right? And I was like, oh, it was awesome. We had this, we had this many new kids, whatever. Oh, also, I had a kid pull some of the tape some of the paint off the wall with the duct tape. So just, tell me what color paint that was, and I'll repaint it. No big deal, right? And he goes, that we had to have that specially painted in a very special way with a sponge and a finish, and the person who did that doesn't even live here anymore. They live in Georgia. And my eyes, I'm just wide-eyed, what have I done? So I have to somehow get this wall repainted, but reach out to this person who doesn't go to the church anymore. And so within my first couple weeks of ever having a job, I took paint off the precious youth room walls that had been done in a very special and particular way. And so I've learned, when you do that duct tape thing, don't put it on paint. I did put it on a brick wall, but it was a painted brick wall. So then in future years, I stopped putting it on paint, because it definitely was always taking the paint and the finish and the drywall off. But it is still an amazing and great event that you can theme all around duct tape. And it's a little bit niche, and it's a little bit off the beaten track. So it's not your typical style of night. This one right here is one that we just did 3 weeks ago, and we called it our back to school night, but in front of the night, we spelled it with a K, parentheses with a K, back to school night, and we went medieval themed. And if you're a DYM member, back in January, they dropped a game called Loot and Lunacy, and we were going to play Loot and Lunacy at some point in January, but I remember we were in our run through and our Q to Q, and the game, it's just like long. Like there are 10 slides, 10 questions, and they're each like a minute and 30 seconds or so long. And so you needed to carve out a good 15, maybe even 20 minutes to the whole game. And so that night, right on a moment, right on a dime, I actually decided to switch to another game. So I held Loot and Lunacy just in my back pocket, knowing I wanted to go back to it at some point in the future. And so when our back to school came around, I was like, let's build a night around Loot and Lunacy. And in the meantime, we built up all these sort of like Ren Fair ideas around it. And so, we talked about, the importance, or not the importance of, it was an invite night, so we didn't have like a message or anything, but we had all sorts of different like medieval themed games. We did the impossible shot with the bow and arrow. We did like a giant scavenger hunt. We got a joust. We even looked into getting turkey legs, but that was either A, impossible, or B, cost prohibitive. I can't remember exactly the reason why, but either way, we didn't come up with it. But then in and around it, we played Loot and Lunacy, and we broke it up into two chunks. We played some at the beginning, and we played some at the end. And, here's the fact is, like, I actually, because this is recent, I detailed and outlined this entire episode over on a recent bonus Patreon podcast episode. I get on and I talk every single week. Actually, as soon as this episode hits stop, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to record and recap last night's youth ministry, which was, we had an amazing like custom game that came out of like one of our team members' just heads. Like, it was fantastic, and I can't wait to share it with you. So click the link down below, and guess what? You also get access to the seasonal summer social media pack. Hey, quick break. Let me ask you a question. Are you still waking up every day as a youth pastor, scrambling to figure out what you need to post on your social media? Blurry dodgeball pic, a video that your leader sent you that's a little bit pixelated because iPhone still hasn't updated fully to RCS yet. You see, you don't need that kind of stress this fall. That's why I created the fall seasonal social media pack for youth pastors. It is 3 months worth of done for you content. Done for you, paired with some customization so that you and your leaders and your students are the faces and the personalities on your student ministry Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts feed. See, here's the thing. You can grab my pack right now over on Patreon. And did you know that monthly Hybrid Hero Patreon members who only pay $4 per month and get a bonus podcast, they get this pack completely for free. So if you do the math, for 3 months worth of social media content, it's only $12, where the pack is $17.99. Either way, it is a steal for you, and it will take away the stress of posting. And you can grab that pack right now and start becoming a master at social media and hybrid ministry in your youth ministry context. Rooting for you as you are crushing it this fall in your student ministry. Moving on, talking about back to school bashes, that was a like back to school night, medieval themed back to school bash. The mistake I made in that is that, do you know how to spell medieval? I spelled it wrong so many times, and emails out to parents, the whole thing. And I still don't even know if I know how to spell it. Grammarly tells me it's Medieval. But I was spelling it Medevil, but then I had to spell it Medieval. Like, I messed it up so many times. So don't be like me and look up how to spell medieval before you send out emails to parents. But typically a back to school bash for me, growing up in youth ministry, it was just like a big event, a party, and a bunch of like those giant inflatables and like, obstacle courses, not bounce houses exactly, but like obstacle courses, jousts, Velcro wall, like the hanging wrecking ball, the bucking bronco, like stuff like that. And so one year I had created a special events team, and there's a guy at our church who's super awesome, super willing to help, but like didn't want to be like necessarily like a youth leader. But he was like, I'll be on like the events team, which was great. And so I had our students help plan the night and like what they wanted for food. And they said they wanted Buffalo Wild Wings, which was great. And so Called ahead, placed the order, and all the inflatables, all the things are going, kids are showing up, but the food's not there. And I had sent this guy, and his name was Tim, to go out and grab the Buffalo Wild Wings order, and I had placed it ready to be picked up at let's say 6:15. Well, he told me that when he got there, that they didn't start preparing the order of nearly 250 wings until he arrived at 6:15, and it was supposed to be ready to pick up at 6:15. And I said, no, it was supposed to be pickup. He said, that's what I told them, and they even said, oh yeah, but we want your wings to be fresh. And so he was like 45 minutes late, and all the kids are like, where's the wings? So when you're doing catering or when you're doing a big giant pickup order like that, like just make sure the restaurants don't do harebrained stuff, like wait until you get there to start preparing it, which is going to then make it like an hour late. Good grief. Event idea number 4 is last year, actually, linked right here, I discussed our Christmas movie bracket. And what we did out of that, and again, this is another good plug for my Patreon, is I discussed in detail and outlined all of this in my Patreon as well. But we did a bracket, which is movies go head to head. In fact, this was the member resource back in Download Youth Ministry back in December of 2024. So if you remember, you might even have access to this for free. Otherwise, I'll put the link down in the show notes. You can go grab it for just a few bucks. But kids vote head to head on different Christmas movies. And then what we did was that was just running in the background in the month of November. But then what we did was the winner was what became our Christmas movie night. And then my boss, shout out to Darren, he did he added a flair of bring your own chair to the Christmas movie night. And so kids are coming in shopping carts and in camping chairs, and one group even brought a full air mattress to sit on. So we took all the chairs out of our auditorium and we played the movie up on the screen, and the kids brought all their own chairs. Now, the mistake that I made in this event was trusting that ChatGPT would know where all of the Home Alone swear words were, because I actually I was going to edit out any cuss words from the Home Alone movie. And so ChatGPT told me. And then what happened was, by the grace of God himself, I was thinking about a certain part of the movie, and I remember, oh, there's a swear word there, and I didn't edit that out. So I had to go back in and re-edit it, another edit that after one I had already made, because the first one I made was I was trusting ChatGPT to give me accurate information. And alas, it gave me some accurate information, but not entirely accurate information. So check your AI chatbots, people. And then finally, the 5th idea that I have is a Super Bowl party. If you are a youth group that meets on Sunday nights, you're obligated to do something with the Super Bowl. Now, what I would recommend from a philosophical standpoint is, if you're a Wednesday night group, don't add a Super Bowl party to it. But if you're a Sunday night group, you got to figure out what you're going to do. And so I remember the first year that I was at a church that had converted from Wednesday to Sunday. And so in comes along the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, we got church tonight, don't we? And they're like, where are we going to meet? And so we held a Super Bowl party at my house, and it was averagely attended. It wasn't great. And so and everyone was like, well, we got to party with these people every year, and we do this time every year. And so I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not competing with the Super Bowl anymore. Not to mention, I like sports. I want to watch the Super Bowl. And if I'm running a party, I don't get to watch, I don't get to lock in, I don't get to pay attention to the Super Bowl. And so the mistake, I would say, of doing a Super Bowl party is actually having one. However, if you're a Sunday night meeting youth ministry, what do you do instead? So I moved up our party in the next couple of years, and we started doing like a pregame or like a tailgating party. And I know those have negative connotations, but just like a before the Super Bowl party of the Super Bowl party, but we're done by the time Super Bowl party is there. So big obstacle course in the middle of our space, and some football trivia, and I think we did like Nerf wars in a room actually, and ended up hiring a DJ, which another mistake was that the DJ was awesome. Like, he wasn't like some like low level DJ. He was so good, and the music was so loud, and the kids complained. They're like, I can't hear myself think. And so I had to go ask him to turn the music down a little bit. That was another mistake. But All in all, super fun night. Encourage kids to wear jerseys and whatever, but we did it on Super Bowl Sunday just a few hours before the game started. And then if you are like me and you like sports and you like football, you wrap your event up and you're home in your recliner by 6 p.m. and you're watching the game. You don't have to worry about commercials. You don't have to worry about halftime shows except for your own self. You just get to enjoy the game for itself. So those are 5 of my favorite theme nights. Comment down below what your favorite youth ministry theme night is, and tap this video here on screen so that you can check out the next one, and be sure to give us a subscribe. But until next time, and as always, my friends, don't forget, stay hybrid.